Hello everybody, this is Robert Skelton Clark calling from the University of Hull in the UK. I'm just going to wait two or 3 minutes for let people to join the broadcast, so just stay patient and we'll begin the presentation and question and answer session in a few minutes. Thank you. Excellent, I can see some messages coming through already from people. Guys, this is the first time I've had to use Facebook Live, and actually I'm using it on my phone, so it's all very exciting, and hopefully over the course of the next hour I can give you all the help and support and information you're going to need to help you make a decision about studying in the UK and then studying at the University of Hull. Okay, so hopefully now everybody's joined who's going to be here. I've just going to introduce myself first so you know who I am. So my name is Robert Skelton Clark, and I'm the Senior International Relations Manager at the University of Hull in the UK. We are close partners with BESA in Egypt, and so we're being ably supported this evening by my colleagues in Cairo. If you do have any questions after this session, don't forget you can get in contact with them, and there'll be help there to support you if you have questions or you'd like to make an application or anything to do with studying in the UK itself. So don't think this is just the end of this conversation. If you are interested in speaking to me further after the event, then certainly we can make that by an appointment through BESA as well. Okay, so the format of the session will be that I'll give a presentation to you, tell you a few bits of information about the UK in general, about higher education, about studying at the University of Hull, and all the benefits that can bring to you and in terms of your academic development and also your future career. And then I'll open it up to questions as well. So if you've got any questions you want to ask me, anything that you think that's going to be really important, if I know that tonight, that's going to help me make a decision about whether to apply to the UK and to the University of Hull, then you can do that through the chat facility and I'll pick those up as we go along. I can also then, if there's any questions that don't get answered over the course of the next hour, then certainly we can pick them up via email afterwards or by some other forms of correspondence. So again, don't feel as if it's the end of the conversation. This is only the beginning, okay? So I'm calling to you tonight from the University of Hull. You can see behind me, potentially a map of the UK. There we are, look, I'm pointing, oh, I went the wrong way. That's better, there, look, there we are. We're on the northeast coast of the UK, all right, so halfway between London and Edinburgh. If you know where roughly the geography is of the UK, then we're on the east coast and we're 2.5 hours from London and 2 hours from Manchester, okay? So, what I'm going to start talking about first is why I think students from Egypt should think about studying in the UK and what the benefits are going to be for that. Okay, well, location-wise, we're only 8 hours away on a flight, one stop. Okay, and in terms of time zones, you're only 1 hour ahead. So that makes travelling home, if necessary, you know, much easier for students who want to come to the UK from Egypt. So a really quite easy way to get around. It is a very multicultural country as well. Okay, lots of diversity in terms of religions and cultures, etc. in general. And you can experience that it's quite easy to travel around. So don't feel as if you kind of feel hemmed in or stuck in one particular place for the course of your studies. It's a great place to come and study, but it's also a great place to explore, okay? And I'll take you through a kind of a little potted history of the UK in a second, but also around the geography of the country as well. But historically and culturally, it's also one of those great places where you can come and learn lots of new things, loads of great museums, great social interaction as well. So there's lots of places you can go and meet new people, for example, experience life in the UK as a student, but also as a kind of citizen, really, and understand what makes us different, but also what makes us all the same. So it's one of those great experiences. I always think about studying abroad as being really important for personal development as well as kind of academic as well. So it's a great melting pot, really, of different things you can experience. And sport. I know you Egyptians love sport. Okay, so if you want to come and watch football in the UK, you can come and study at the University of Hull and support Hull City, of course, which is actually owned by an Egyptian, if you didn't know already, Mr. Alam. Okay, so that's great. And Mohamed, who now plays for Aston Villa, used to play at Hull. And one thing, I'm going to ask you there's a few things as we go through the course of the presentation. I might do a little quiz at the end, okay, and ask you a few questions. And if you know the answers, you can tap the answer in. But one player who now plays with one of your sporting idols, Mo Salah, is called Andy Robinson, and he used to play at Hull City as well. Okay, so he's now a Liverpool player. So a little bit of connection there for you. So, why? That's giving you kind of an idea of why I come to the UK, but what makes universities in the UK different? We have got a really strong reputation in the UK for higher education. Our universities are among some of the most highest ranked in the world, and indeed some of the eldest in the world. So we've been teaching at the higher education level for a lot of years. There's a lot of strong history there, but also underpinned by some really serious research. And I think that's what you need to be knowing as a student coming to any university in the UK, is the strength of their research. Because while you might not be doing a PhD, you might just want to come and do a bachelor's course or a master's course, who you're taught by is really important. At the University of Hull, a lot of our staff who are researchers also will teach you. Okay, so these are very serious academics with a research background as well as a good teaching background. So about 500,000 students come to the UK and study every year. So it's a lot of students will choose the UK. It's a very popular destination. Our degrees in the UK are recognised by employers and academic institutions worldwide. Okay, so they'll know straight away that a degree from a university in the UK has the right pedigree, and they'll essentially know which university it is that you studied at as well. So the reputation is really important. Recognition by employers as well. So if you get a job after you've studied, they'll hopefully know that a degree from the UK university is going to really put you in good stead, I think. Okay. It's also going to help you develop your academic skills as well, because we teach very differently in the UK. All right. So a lot of difference around personal development, around critical thinking. Okay. Developing those skills are going to help you in your future career. And of course, we will give you those skills in terms of career training as well, to help you prepare for the world of work. So I think that's always very important to think about. We're not just thinking about giving you a degree, we want to set you in the right direction for your future career. Okay? So that's really one of the good benefits of higher education system. Our degrees are regularly assessed and hopefully approved by Quality Assurance Agency, so you know the UK government have got an oversight of the quality of teaching. Okay. Our degree programmes are slightly different in length, so you can do an undergraduate degree in the UK for only 3 years, rather than some countries they teach it for 4. And our master's programmes are for 1 year, and in some countries they're for 2. So we teach more intensively for shorter periods, and I think it's a real benefit, because that means you can actually get your qualification quicker, and hopefully it won't cost you so much money. Okay. And a benefit of studying in the UK as well is, as an international student, if you have the right visa, you can work up to 20 hours a week as a student, okay, during half-term and full-time holidays as well. All right. So that's a real benefit. So particularly if you're an undergraduate student and you're here for 2 or 3 years, for example, then certainly you will have the ability to do some part-time work to help fund yourself as well. Another big benefit. Okay, that's giving you an understanding of what life's like in the UK from an institutional perspective. It's got the reputation I think you're all looking for. What I'm going to talk about now is what I think the benefits of studying at the University of Hull are, and exactly where we are as a starting point. I've given you an indication of the map, okay? But we've been in Hull now as a university since 1927, okay? So we have been teaching now for a long time, and we've been having international students coming to us for a long time. We are the 14th eldest university in England. We've had international students coming to us since probably the early 1950s, so we have a great alumni base. We have some people who have gone on to great careers globally who have studied at the University of Hull, and hopefully in the future you could be one of those people. Okay, so as a city on the northeast coast of the UK, population about 350,000 people. It's not a big place. It's the 12th biggest city in the UK, but it's still not enormous. One thing I always like to say about the city of Hull is it's a place where you can come and study. There are lots of things to do, but not so many distractions that you don't get your work done. Okay, so I think it's got all the kind of the benefits of a good city in the UK. It's easy to get to, and one of the benefits as well is it's relatively cheap to live there as well. Okay, so the cost of living is a lot lower than some of the major cities in the UK. And it's got great museums, it's got great places to socialise, and it's very easily accessible, as I say. So, 90 years we've been teaching for, over 90 years now. So the reputation for Hull is there. Again, we're a strong research institution. If you have a look at a calculator or your digital camera, you might see an LCD screen. Okay. Liquid crystal display, LCD. Liquid crystals were first stabilised and then be able to apply it into applications such as cameras and phones and calculators at the University of Hull in 1976. It's one of the biggest research areas and breakthroughs and claims to fame that we've got. Great other areas as well, and I might mention those as we go through the presentation, but that gives you a bit of a kind of a solid idea about what makes Hull so important and how it's affected the way we live and work. So we've got about 15,000 students studying at the UK, University of Hull, and 1,000 of those are international students. And also we've got, I think, one of the nicest campuses in the UK. I can't show you that, so I want you to go online and have a look for yourself, okay? We have a single campus experience. You live and study in the same space. It's not a city-based institution where you've got departments and buildings dotted all around the place. Everything's together. Very nice, green, flat, and it's got some really lovely historical buildings melded in with some really brand new state-of-the-art institution facilities and buildings. We just renovated our library, for example. We have a brand new medical building which was funded by Mr. Alam, or Dr. Alam, who's an honorary graduate of the University of Hull. So the gentleman who owns Hull City is actually a benefactor of the institution as well. So it's mixing the old with the new. The facilities I think are really great, and it's a great place to live and study because you're all studying together. It makes it a very friendly place, I think. You feel at home, okay? You're not going to get lost here. So I think a great place in terms of that experience, if that's what you're looking for. Like I said, the library is one of the, I think, amazing buildings. It's open 24 hours a day. It's got over 1 million different volumes in it. But now a lot of it's online as well. So the facilities are very, very high tech. And we've got our accommodation on campus, okay? So people worry about where am I going to live, you know, is it close to the university? Well, our facilities are on campus. You can live and study in the same space. We also have a lot of cheaper accommodation off campus, which is privately owned. So there's no shortage of places to live in the UK, in Hull. As I said to you before, a good benefit of living in the city is got a relatively low cost of living, okay, which means your money just goes that little bit further. And I'll talk about some of the costs a bit later on. So by living on campus, it makes it relatively safer and more secure. All our rooms on campus are en suite as well, which is what you students are looking for these days. So we can offer you all that as well. And if you go onto our website, have a good look around. It shows you some great facilities on there. You can have a virtual tour as well, so you can see for yourself exactly what the university looks like. Okay. I'm very proud of it. I was a student at the University of Hull as well, and I've never left. Okay, so I did American Studies in English as a degree, and I did my master's degree there as well. So the university has given me a lot, and I think it's a place I'm very proud to be an alumnus of. So hopefully you will be of it as well in the future. Okay, so what makes Hull a bit different? I think there's a lot of help and support. Coming to the UK, into a different country to study, can be a very daunting and potentially, scary prospect for some of you. You may not have left Egypt before. Your parents will be concerned about you leaving. I think it's nice for you to know that the facilities are there as well to support you, but also the staff and the different services that we have available to give you help and advice are also there on lots of different levels. So you can come to study at the University of Hull and feel as if you're getting the help and support that you need. You're not alone, okay? I want to reassure you that you'll have the help and support you need there. So that might be help around your immigration, your visa, okay? It might be around learning support. We teach differently, as I said before. You may not have done a presentation in front of a group of students before or in front of a lecturer. You may not have prepared a thesis. You may not have done some scientific reporting. You can get help from our study advice service to help you with that, to help you give us skills to understand what it is we need from you academically. And that academic support's there as well because you have support tutors dedicated to you to look after you. So you don't just get looked after by the people who are teaching you in the lectures or the tutorial groups. You also have a dedicated tutor to help out with any academic problems, but also any kind of personal problems. And of course, we have the student services and student union building that give professional help if you have any personal problems you need help with as well. So we are very conscious of people's well-being at the University of Hull. And obviously, I mentioned before the careers service. As soon as you set foot on campus, we want you to engage with us to learn those skills that are going to help you get the job that you need for the future, okay? Don't just think of coming away with a degree and think, I've done, that's great, now I'll just walk into the job that I really want to have. We're not always that lucky. We need to have the skills to help us with the interviews and applying for jobs and making sure that we get noticed by employers and we get that dream job that we're after. So you need to benefit from that as well as soon as you become a student. And there's lots of things to do socially, and I think that's a great thing to talk about briefly as well, is the fact is that we want you to come and study and work hard, but we also want you to make friends and socialise with other people, okay? The benefit is that you will develop as a person, not just in terms of your academic ability, but also your personal skills as well. You'll become slightly more independent, you know, and it's nice to build up that extra range of friends, potentially from all around the world. Okay, so you can engage with them through lots of sports societies or clubs that are run through our student union. Socialising is really, really important because if you're happy in your social life, if you're making friends and feel settled, you're going to be very much more happy in your studies as well. So we're very conscious about that too. All right. So what can you study at the University of Hull? Well, by definition, it's a university, so you can actually be taught most things. We have 4 faculties. We have a Faculty of Arts, Culture and Education. We have a Faculty of Business, Law and Politics, Science and Engineering, and Health Studies as well. Okay, so if you want to do business, we will do most business degrees. Okay, our specialisations will be in logistics and supply chain management, because if you think where we are on the map, we're a port city. Okay, and so we know a lot about moving freight and logistical arrangements as well for the benefit of business. We're very strong in HR as well and in marketing. Okay, but that's just a few highlights for you. In terms of our sciences, we do all the main life sciences. Okay, and we also specialise very much in sort of engineering, computer science, biological science, biomedical science as well. Okay, and linked to that is we're very strong in health sciences, which is medicine and nursing. Arts and culture and education. Some of you may want to be teachers, for example. In the past, we've had students coming from Egypt who are teaching staff and want to develop their skills. We have strong postgraduate, undergraduate courses in education as well. Okay, and we have a variety of kind of arts-based subjects as well. So if you're more interested in kind of writing in English or language development or anything historical, creative writing, those sort of things, we have them at Hull too. Okay, so again, check out our website. Have a look at the range of programs. We've got over 400 to choose from. Most of them start in September. Okay. Our undergraduate programs are for 3 years, as I mentioned before, and our masters are for 1 year. Okay. So a good choice, and hopefully our colleagues at Besser will help you make that decision. So if you want some more specific counselling advice about that, make sure you go and see our colleagues there for that extra help, okay? You've got a lot of choices to make. It's not just about studying in the UK, it's about where to study in the UK and then what to study in the UK as well. So a lot of things to think about, guys. So this is just a starting point for you, and hopefully you start to pick up that you're going to get a lot of help from the right people, all right? Now, what do we need our students to have achieved before they actually come to the University of Hull? Okay, so we're going to need you to have a reasonable standard of English. So our English and language requirements are a minimum 6.0, okay, with 5.5 in each skill. Some of our courses may well be higher, okay, in entry requirements, but our minimum is 6.0. All right, so you have to have studied an IELTS test or an equivalent test, okay, to qualify to come to the University of Hull. Or you can come to us first to do your language. So if you haven't got the right level of support in terms of your English ability, you can always come and study your language with us first. And once you've passed that, you can start your degree program. And you can come and study language with us for up to a year if you need to. Okay, undergraduate entry requirements. So we need you to have got the Fanny AMA really with 70% minimum plus a foundation program. Okay, so we partner with CG, Cambridge Education Group. So if you need a foundation qualification, you can come and study at on-campus Hull first, and then you'll progress to your full degree program at the University of Hull. And when they're called on-campus Hull, they are on our campus. They teach and have their facilities right next door to where we are, so that we're all together. All right. So again, best of partners with CG. So if you do need a foundation program before you come to the UK, then please ask about Cambridge Education Group. Okay. You may have studied IB, International Baccalaureate. We need or A levels, for example. So our A levels are pretty standard. Okay, so it's BBC minimum in some degree programs, and IB are 28 to 30. Some of you may have also taken the US system qualifications at school. Okay, so you can have a look on our website to find exactly what our qualifications are around that. All right. Okay, now some of you might want to do a postgraduate course, which means you would have done your degree maybe in Egypt or somewhere else already. So some courses need what we call a 2-2, a lower second class degree. Okay, so really that's the equivalent. For example, if you're at the American University in Cairo, that's a GPA of about 2.5 out of 4. If you're at the German University, for example, that might be 3.3. It varies slightly. Or a low class second at the British University in Egypt is a 2-2 as well. Okay, so that sort of score. If you need a 2-1 to get into some better qualified courses that we have, then obviously you're looking at a higher grade. So for example, if you're at the American University, it'll be a 3 out of 4. Okay, and it'll be 2.3 from the German University. But check with your university and check with BESA as well, okay, about what it is you're going to need to access the different universities you might be thinking of applying to, because the qualifications the entry requirements may well differ per university. Okay, if you're already studying at a university in Egypt and you want to transfer to a UK university, you can start in either our second or third year, as long as the first year that you've done or the qualifications you've done in Egypt match our course for that first year. Okay, it is possible. You may have done a high level diploma. Okay, you may have already done a foundation, or you may have done some other qualification on top of that, which may allow you to come into second or third year undergraduate course. So we accept those applications at Hull. Now then, some of you are asking questions about fees, and some of you are asking questions about scholarships, for example. Okay, so I'm going to give you an idea of how much the fees would cost at the University of Hull. Okay, so if you wanted to come to do an art subject, so anything related to business, or if you wanted to come and do teaching, for example, then essentially what you need to do is you'll be paying essentially £14,500. Okay, that works out about 278,000 Egyptian pounds. That's for an arts-based subject. Okay, there may be some higher fees there for some of our higher qualified business programs, but go look on our website again, have a look there to find out what the costs are. But this is a general amount. Our science programs are priced at £17,200 a year, and that works out about 330,000 Egyptian pounds. Okay, and that's the same for undergraduate and for postgraduate study. All right. Postgraduate students have to also pay a £2,000 deposit. All right. Okay, those exchange rates, by the way, based on today's rates, that may well change. Now then, what can we offer you as potential students to come and study at the University of Hull in terms of scholarships and discounts? Okay, so we offer students from Egypt what's called a standard studentship. Okay, so that's a fee discount. If you're doing an arts-based subject, it's £2,000 a year. If you're doing a science subject, it's £2,500 a year. Okay, if you're doing a postgraduate course, you would get £2,500 a year discount. Okay, now because you're from Egypt, you also get an additional £1,000 on top of that. Okay, so you can receive up to £3,500 studentship from the University of Hull. Okay, that is not awarded as a scholarship, it's not given to you as cash, that comes off your fees. Okay, so if you think of either £14,000 or £17,200, for example, minus £3,500, that will give you an idea about what the fees are for the University of Hull. Okay, so hopefully that's given you an idea about what you can benefit from in terms of help with your fees. Okay, I'm sure there might be some questions about that later on. Okay, so some of you are asking as well about how do you apply? Well, you can apply in lots of different ways. If you're an undergraduate student, so you want to come and do a bachelor's course, okay, you can apply through what's called UCAS. That's an organisation that in the UK allows you to apply to up to 5 universities at the same time. And UCAS will then help get offers or from each of the universities that you apply for, okay, and they'll then they coordinate that for you, and you get your answers back through UCAS. That's one way of doing it. Okay, it allows you 5 choices. If you wanted to apply just to the University of Hull as an undergraduate student, and you wanted to go direct and not through UCAS, you can go to BESA, and they have a form as one of our agents that will allow you to apply directly to the University of Hull. Okay, it means hopefully we might be able to get you a quicker response, and that's only available though if you go through one of our agents, and like I say, our colleagues at BESA will have that form for you to use. Okay, if you're applying for a postgraduate course, all right, you can also apply directly online, so you can do that through us directly, and again our colleagues at BESA can help you with that application process. And the important things to remember is that we can get you an offer more quickly if you have all the right information to give us. Okay, so what we'll be looking for is we have to make sure that you've filled in a personal statement. We need references from either your school or your university, for example. Okay, we need copies of your transcripts for the years you've already studied either at school or at university. And if you've already graduated, we need a copy of your certificate. We need a copy of your passport. There's various other things that we need. The more information we have, the quicker we can get you an offer. Okay, so the crucial thing is to make sure you have all your paperwork ready, and it's all in one place, and it's easily accessible as well. Okay, so hopefully that's kind of giving you an idea of the application process. We've got some questions coming through. I've talked to you about the studentships. At the moment we don't necessarily have any scholarships available for merit-based awards, for example, although that might well change for 21-22. But what I've talked about so far are those studentships. Okay, those studentships are, what I've quoted you at, are for this year's entry. It's not too late to apply for this year, okay? Now, I know there's concerns about the COVID-19 virus and what the implications are going to be for applying to the UK. You'll have lots of questions about when can I start, okay? Will I be able to start in September? Do you have January start dates? Am I going to have to wait until next year? Well, those are decisions that are still being made by lots of universities. I think really things will become a lot clearer over the next sort of like 3 or 4 weeks as the situation develops and we get nearer to September. We will see positions from different universities being declared, and you'll know exactly what Hull would like you to do. Okay. There is various possibilities at the moment. There will be questions about, will I start online? Okay. Or will I start, face-to-face, for example? Stay tuned. We'll be letting you know all the things that are happening, okay, in the next few weeks, and we'll make sure that information is passed to you if you're interested through our colleagues at BESA as well. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start to go back through some of the questions here. I've talked about how you would apply. Okay. One of the questions here is, can I take a master's in my, I guess, some of you are asking whether you can actually study for a degree from the University of Hull in Egypt. We do have some online master's programs that are run through our colleagues at CEG Digital. Okay, so if you are interested in doing an online course, have a look at on Cambridge Education Group Digital, and we do have some online master's programs available there for students. Okay, if you can't come to the UK to study. Okay. Lots of questions about scholarships. I think I've answered quite a lot of those already. Okay. So one of the questions is about what you can study at master's level. I've been through some of the programs we actually offer our students. What I can tell you our strengths are, so you can have an idea about that's what really Hull is known for. I've talked about logistics and supply chain management already, okay? One thing from the science perspective as well that Hull is really strong is about renewable technologies, okay? I know that's very, very high up on the Egyptian government's agenda in terms of future economic development, to try and look at ways to develop energy through renewable technologies, whether it be solar or that be through wind or hydro, for example. So if you remember where I showed you Hull is on the map, okay? Hull is on the northeast coast of the UK. The northeast coast now has the biggest offshore wind farm in Europe, okay? We are developing with our colleagues at Siemens, who have a factory in Hull to produce wind turbines. They're producing 100-foot high wind turbines that sit out in the middle of the North Sea, generating power. And now the UK is becoming increasingly reliable on renewable technologies, which is amazing news. I think we're actually using more power now through wind than we are through coal and gas. So I think that's a very extremely important area of development. And we have great strengths in engineering around renewable technologies and development. So that's where, if you're interested in that area of development from an engineering perspective or from a management perspective, then we have the courses that are available for you as well. It'd be good to know if you've got any specific questions around any of the courses you're interested in. I can also talk about specific courses, but I'll just give you a flavour of what we're really strung out as well. We're also good at kind of things around maritime issues, and that's around about coastal erosion and water management and waste management. The River Humber, on which Hull is based as a city, transports 20% of the river water from the UK. It's a big place, so that tells you that we've got a great kind of area for doing lots of field work around coastal erosion and water management, etc., and flooding. Okay, so flood management is again a real strength at master's level and from a science perspective. But of course we do lots of different master's courses in engineering, computer science, for example, the life sciences as well, in chemistry, biology, physics, etc. And also biomedical science at masters, which is really important. Teaching is very strong at Hull as well. So if students want to come and become a better qualified teacher, again, that's excellent. We do great language teaching. So it's not just about teaching students at school, but potentially in language. So we do TESOL, for example, as well. So teaching English as a second language, we've got some real strengths there. But as I mentioned before, business-wise, which I know some of you are asking for, business management, finance, for example, as well, HR management, marketing, accounting and finance. We actually have a course which may be of interest to some of you if you are already qualified accountants. If you've done all your accreditations to become an accountant, but you want to go a little bit further, then you can do our professional accounting program, which makes you fully qualified over an 18-month period. Some of you are asking whether we have work placement opportunities as well as part of our degree program. So do you get the chance to do some work with a company in the UK or Egypt as part of your program? Yes, you do. Okay, so you can choose to do a 4-year undergraduate program, for example, and in the 3rd year you'd spend a year in industry. We can't guarantee the places, but we'll certainly help you with those qualifications, those access to those businesses, and you would apply to those businesses for a work placement for a year. Some of our students who are taking those work placements have been very, very successful actually, and got jobs at some of the kind of really good key employers in the UK, some even at kind of Disney, for example, from a kind of marketing perspective, and have actually been paid a very substantial salary for that year in industry. So the opportunity is there for you to get some work experience while you're studying in the UK, which is excellent news, okay? So you can do that as part of your study. We also have a business management program which runs over 16 months that allows you to do a 4-month work placement as part of that as well. So we have one program in business management that has a work placement in it, which could be of interest to some of you as well. Okay, now some of you might think, well, coming to the UK is great, but I really want to go and study somewhere else as well. Can I go and do that? Well, actually you can, because you can take what's called a study abroad year. Again, you can do that at undergraduate, okay? And in your 3rd year, you could go to America for a year, you could go to a place in Europe for a year as well, and an experience, teaching and academic engagement in another country. All right, so it just broadens your experience, and it's all things to add to your CV, your curriculum vitae, your resume that you'll be offering employers when you finish your degree. That's going to really make you stand out from the crowd. And I think that's really important to talk about, guys, when you're thinking about where to study. It comes back to this whole thing about careers advice. Whatever you choose to do at university is really, really important, but it's also the extracurricular activity, those additional things you do as a student, and the opportunities you take as a student is going to help you stand out from the crowd when you get those jobs, when you're applying for those jobs. So do have a think about all those extra things you can do, and maybe think about a work placement opportunity as well, which may help you with that development. Okay? So, let's just wait for the questions a bit further on. We've talked about how to apply. Okay? I'm just waiting for my questions here. Colleague here wants to know, how many O levels and A levels should I take for the scholarship? Basically, it's the scholarship, what we call a studentship, is available to all students. Okay, so all of you will get it if you qualify to study at the University of Hull. So you don't have to achieve a certain academic grade, either in your A level or in your degrees, to qualify for that discount. Okay, we will give that to you automatically. So I think that's great to know that it's not just based on your academic ability, it's based on where you actually live. So like I say, as an Egyptian student, you get that extra £1,000 on top of our studentship, which is great news for you all, I'm sure. Okay. Right, let's move through the questions. Okay, Hatem's asking, how can I get a study permit? Okay, applying for your visa, which I think is what you need, Hatem. Best thing to do is to go and see our colleagues at BESA. Okay, again, they offer that service. It's really important. There's some really key information that you need to have to make sure that when you come to apply for your visa and you have your interview with the entry clearance officer at the British Embassy or wherever it's located in Egypt, they will interview you and they want to ask you lots of questions about why you want to study in the UK, etc. They'll also be looking at your bank account to make sure you have enough funds in that bank account to study. Okay, so there's all those sort of things they'll be looking at. It can seem quite a daunting process, and I think it's reassuring to know that you would have help and support from your colleagues better to do that. Okay, so you do have to apply for that. You apply for your visa once you get a certificate of sponsorship from the university you are studying at. So we have to tell the UK Border Agency that we are happy to sponsor you for a visa. It's called a CAS. Okay, you may have come across that phrase already if you've been looking into applying to the UK before. You get that certificate of sponsorship, that CAS, when you have met all the conditions of your offer. So when we've said to you, you can come and study at Hull, but you must have got a degree from this university, or you must get A-level marks of this, when you've met all of those conditions, and you've sent us all the certificates and proved that you've passed, then we issue a CAS. Okay? If you're a postgraduate student, we will issue that CAS to you once you've paid your £2,000 deposit. Okay? So that's important to know as well. So that's how you get your visa. But the most important thing, Hazem, is you get the right advice about how to apply for that. It's not complicated, but it takes some navigation, so you'll need some help. Okay? So again, we've had questions around about the study permit. I hope to give you some advice about that, the visa. Okay. So how can you apply online for a postgraduate study course, Sarah? Okay, if you go to our website, I know I'm keep referring you to the website, and I can't show you it because Facebook I can't share my screen with you, otherwise I'll take you through it for you. You can apply online by submitting your applications directly to us. Okay, it's pretty straightforward, but again, go and see better about that. And the funding, which you're asking about as well, as I mentioned before, you get that funding when you enrol and it comes off your fees. Okay. Okay, now Rami is asking about annual fees for accommodation. Rami, that's a great question actually. I'll just go back to my slides, we'll have a look there for you. Because you don't always have to, you don't just want to think about how much it's going to cost to study, what the degree is going to cost you. It's also about how much accommodation you need to pay for, and all the additional living expenses as well. So generally, this is a very general guide, guys, so it's not hard and fast, is that you probably need about £6,000 a year for accommodation and living expenses. And when I talk about living expenses, what I'm talking about is your food, okay? And all the other things you might want to be buying, clothes, for example, things like that when you're in the UK. All right? So, just to give you an idea of the costs of our accommodation, if you want to have an ensuite bathroom, if you want a nice student study bedroom in very, very modern accommodation on our campus, okay, then we have a variety of different prices. It can range from £129 a month to up to £210 a month. That's if you want a penthouse apartment, and I'm not saying everybody does, okay? So the choices are, if you've got the money to spend, brilliant, and you want a penthouse apartment, but if not, the costs vary between £130 and £147 a month, okay? So annual fees on top, you work that out. You don't cost it on 52 weeks, Rami, okay? So we work, it depends how long you're going to be studying for. It could be 36 weeks, it could be 42 weeks, it could be 52 weeks, okay? So depending on the length of the course, your times the amount of study that you would do, the weeks you'd be there, by the amount that I've just talked about, okay? But generally speaking, you should be budgeting for a minimum of £6,000 a year for your accommodation and living expenses. Now, as I mentioned before, you can have the option to go and rent a house in the private sector. You might have some friends you want to live with, for example. A lot of our students will stay in university accommodation in the first year and then go and leave into the private sector and live with their friends in the second year or third year. And that can range, anywhere between sort of £75 a week accommodation, all the way up to kind of all the way up to somewhere in the region of £150 a week. Okay, so it varies. Just coming back to the university accommodation, guys, I did quote you for a month. It's not a month, it's a week. Okay, so you're looking between £129 and £210 a week in accommodation costs. So again, look on the website, have a look at what's available, what sort of accommodation you want and where you'd like to have, and that'll help you decide. Okay, but I think once you start comparing the costs of accommodation at Hull, for example, with other universities in big cities in the UK, I think we work out fairly reasonable in our living costs. But it's a very, very important consideration to have, because you will need to demonstrate to the UK Border Agency when you have your interview that you can actually afford to live in the UK. All right? Okay. Okay, lots of questions about scholarships. I think I've probably answered as much as I can around that as well. Marwan was asking about mechatronics at the university. Well, that's going to be a science course, Marwan, so that's £17,200 for 2021 entry. Okay, so, but we do mechatronics, so I think that's obviously, that's a real plus for you. So we've got the courses that you're looking for. Let me just pick up any of the questions that are coming through. Okay. Yeah, I think I've given you a kind of very broad overview of what our business programs are. I know people are looking very specifically at business management. We do that undergraduate and postgraduate level as well. The thing about doing a business courses at master's level, you could have, they're what's called transferable degree programs, which means you could have done science at undergraduate level. So for example, you could have done chemistry at a university in Egypt and think, you know what, I really want to get a master's degree now in business, which means we can recognise your science degree for entry to one of our business management degrees. Okay? What you can't do is do it the other way around. So you can't have done a business degree at undergraduate level and think, tell you what, I'm going to do chemistry at master's level now, because you won't have the same academic progression. You won't be able to demonstrate an understanding of chemistry at undergraduate level to allow you to qualify. But the good thing about the business school courses here, they're fully transferable. So you can come in, we recognise anybody's background to be able to do that master's level program. So you might have started off in a completely unrelated field. You might have started off in teaching, you might have started off in English or creative writing, or, like I say, one of the science courses. But when you can come in and do a business program, if that's what you want at master's level. Okay. Right. And Musab's asking about Sudanese students. Do you know what, Musab? I don't know if we've actually got any Sudanese students. So if you want to be the first, you're very welcome. I'm not particularly au fait with the entry requirements for Sudanese students or the education background you would have at degree level or school level. So my colleagues at BESS will be able to help you with that. But certainly, if we thought that you would qualify to come and study at Hull, we'd be very more than welcome to do that. Okay. I'm just thinking now about whether we should actually go on and try and do the quiz, just to make sure that any of you have been listening. So I'm going to ask you a few questions now, only 3, okay, and just see if you can, want to see if you can type in the answer and so you get this right. Okay. So one of the questions I'd like to ask you, if you've been listening, of course, hopefully you all have, is what year did the university first open? Okay. Another question would be, what was the name of the gentleman who owns Hull City Football Club? Okay. What else can I ask you? Oh yeah, how far away is Hull from London on the train? I did mention it earlier on, you may have missed it. In terms of hours, how long does it take? On that subject, guys, one of the great things about Hull is it is pretty easy to get to. And we have our own train service, so we have Hull trains that can get straight to London directly. There's no getting off. And they've got a whole fleet of new trains. It's great, really great access and arrangements. Students often ask us, how do I get to Hull when I first get there? Well, we actually ask most of the students to come in and fly into Manchester. Okay? And Manchester's 2 hours away and on the train. We'll actually come and pick you up, because one of the great services we offer new students is that we do a free pickup service from Manchester Airport. Now, Rami has come back and asked a question about when should I apply next year. So, Rami, I'm guessing you're talking about 2021 entry. Okay. Oh, Ali. He said 3.5 hours from Hull to London. It's 2.5, Ali. You need to do some revision. Thank you for that, though. Yeah, I think applying next year, just go down, it depends if you want to study undergraduate or postgraduate. Essentially at Hull, you can apply any time, okay? So even if you wanted to apply for an undergraduate course, we'll still take applications from students really up until the end of July, normally, okay? We don't really give out offers after that date because it's going to get quite tight in terms of time to get your visa, okay? So roughly what we say is that if you get your application in, we've got all the information we need to make you an offer there and then, but the end is the end of July. However, there's not a capacity issue in terms of running out of options and saying, well, that course is now going to be full if you don't apply for a certain time. But I always think it's worth getting an application in as early as you possibly can. I would seriously think, if I was a postgraduate student, of applying sort of like as soon as possible, but at the latest, probably about March, April time. Because it's good to get an offer in your pocket to say, yeah, I can come to the University of Hull. I know I can then concentrate on your studies then, in your finals, to make sure you're not worrying about the places. So apply when you're not doing your exams, okay? Because it's quite a stressful process otherwise. So time is important. If you wanted to apply for an undergraduate course, I suspect you should be applying really, my advice would be try and get it in before January, but you can apply after January for an undergraduate course as well at Hull. We're quite flexible. Other universities aren't though, okay? So you need to be aware that some universities will work differently from each other. Some universities say you must get all your undergraduate applications in before January the 15th through UCAS, okay? And similarly for masters, they may well fill up as well. So you have to be really mindful of that. So timing is quite crucial. I haven't mentioned medicine tonight. It's quite a tough discipline to get into, but if there's anybody out there who think I'm absolutely nailed on for medicine, it's exactly what I want to do, I've got all the qualifications, I want to come to the UK and do it, you have to apply in October for the following year, okay? So the deadline for applications for medicine in the UK, which is in October, all right, and that's for the following year. All right, so hopefully, Rami, that's giving you some indication as when you apply. Okay. And Mar was asking about the total cost of study and the accommodation. It's hard without knowing exactly what you want to study and what your shopping habits are like. You can have a massive addiction to shopping, which means you're going to spend a lot more than normal. But I think really a best estimate, and that's all it can be really, is that if, for example, you want to do a science course at master's level and you're there for 1 year, you're probably talking region of £23,000 to £25,000. Okay, but that depends on your own personal spending habits, etc. So Rami's asking, can I apply before my 2021 IGCE June exams? I would not. You can't apply to the UK Rami without A-levels or an IB qualification. Okay, but if you're doing the IGC on top of a qualification in Egypt, yes, you can apply before then. That's not a problem. In the UK, we don't ask you to wait to get your results before you apply. You can actually apply before you get your results. Okay? So that means if you've not set your final examinations and you haven't got your final certificate, it doesn't matter because we can make you what's called a conditional offer. Okay? That condition would be that you pass your A-levels or your IGCSE plus your whatever qualification you're doing, or pass your degree. We give you the offer, and then when you've passed it and you sent your certificates to it, we make an unconditional offer to you, and then you come. Okay? So you can apply anytime, really. But I would normally advise anybody to apply in their final year of study, either at school or university in Egypt. Okay? Don't try applying if you're 2 years away from graduation. I think it's not worth doing that. You should really apply in the year you want to come, but my advice is to do that as early as you possibly can. Okay? Right. And Bala's asking, do we offer PhD? We do offer PhDs. Yeah, absolutely we do. We don't accept applications for PhDs in any subject. It has to be related to the area of expertise that we have. Okay, so if you have a particular subject area that you want to do research in, you must check that we have that facility at the university and we have strengths in that area, and then we'll find if we have the right supervisor for you. But yes, we do have PhDs, so that's not a problem at all. Okay. Right, I think there's a spot question earlier on. I think we just have time for one more question. I think I've given you as much information as I possibly can in the time I've got, really, around the degree programs. I do recommend, guys, that you go have a look at the website. Okay, spend some time trawling through that. Have a look at the different programs that are available, and what you can do is drill down into the content of those programs and see exactly what it is that we teach at Hull in that subject, because it might well be different from the same course at another university. We don't always teach the same course. It may be the same title, but it won't be the same construct in terms of module content. And it may be you have some particular passions in a certain subject area that you want to make sure that you study. Well, make sure that that program you've chosen, okay, has that in it. Or try and find a university that does teach those specializations, okay? So don't think that you apply for business management at Hull, you'll be learning exactly the same thing at, say, Sheffield or whatever. The basic core modules will be probably the same, but your options may be completely different, okay? So do have a look at the course content to be able to help you make that decision, okay? So it is decision time, really. I'm going to sign off in a second. I do want to thank you for your time. I think what would be great for you to do is stay in contact with colleagues at BESA. If you think of any other questions you might well have, okay, you can contact them. What I'll be doing in the next few weeks is also setting up some one-to-one counselling sessions for people who would like to speak to me personally through our agents, and so they will be contacting you to make that. If they've got anybody who's seriously interested in applying to Hull, the option is that you can actually sign up for one of one-to-one sessions as well. Okay? If there's any further questions, I think we can then focus those at to our colleagues at BESA. So I'm going to sign off now. It's been an absolute pleasure. It is the first time I've actually done a Facebook Live event. I think you can probably tell. Some of you might not be able to hear me very well because I'm actually doing it off my phone. Okay, but this has given me a real appetite. It's a great way of talking to you all. It's a shame I can't see you, and it's a real shame that I can't actually be in Egypt either. I have very fond memories of being in Egypt from last year, climbing inside the pyramids, of course. My children were very happy to see me riding a camel, which was amazing, and I do hope to be back soon. We've got some great contacts and friends in Egypt, and I do hope to be able to see you in person at some point in the future. So this is me saying goodbye. Good luck. Look after yourselves. Look after your families as well. And stay in touch. Good night.